Welcome to Beyond the Huddle, a Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. Join host Josh Adair and Zach Rose as they dive into real stories from athletes, coaches, and leaders making an eternal impact through sports. Each episode brings powerful conversations on faith, leadership, and living boldly for Christ in every field of play and walk of life. This is Beyond the Huddle.
Welcome to Beyond the Huddle, Central Arkansas FCA podcast where sports meets competition. My name is Josh Adair. So excited to be here with you today as Zach Rose is out of pocket. Something that young men get to do more often than us older guys is they get invited to be in weddings and they get to go be a part with all their friends getting married and all that. So he's away today, and I'm honored and blessed to be able to be in the room with two great men, great minds, great full of basketball wisdom, which is one of the favorite things I like to talk about, seeing how I played it majority of my life, or not majority anymore. But anyway, have the history of it and can talk it and can understand. So super honored and grateful to have one of our FCA staff here, Johnny Rice, who we've had on the show before in shows number 1 and 2, heard his story. And then I believe, if Zach was telling the truth, that this is show number 53. So that means we're going in a complete year, Johnny.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's impressive.
Yeah. Every week we've not missed for 53. Talk about consistency.
That's you don't see that very often anymore.
Yeah. It's been super fun to sit and hear stories and see who we can get on. But we're excited to have Johnny. We're also excited to have Coach Marcus Adams here. Marcus coaches currently at Jacksonville High School, Jacksonville Titans basketball, yes, and leading the charge, leading the way there, and making a great impact for the kingdom and great impact in the men's lives and school and everything else. So welcome. Glad you're here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely.
Johnny Rice, I appreciate you.
Yeah, a little bit of history here between the two coaches, former coach and current coach, and we'll get into that story here in a minute. So, Coach Adams, why don't you just start us off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your family, your upbringing, what got you to where you are today?
I'm a Pine Bluff native, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So I graduated from Pine Bluff High School. I ended up staying there to go to college at University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff.
Okay.
Which it gave me a chance to work because at the time my family had a barbecue restaurant, so it gave me a chance to work and still go to school. And after I ended up doing that, I ended up going back to my alma mater, to Pine Bluff High School, to work under my former coach, Ron Moraney. So I did that for 5 years. But in that time, he gave me an opportunity, and I was just a volunteer. And I was like a paraprofessional, still trying to pass my test, but just gaining so much knowledge. But recently he got sick. A lot of people don't know this, but he ended up having meningitis in the brain.
Wow.
And it kind of done a lot to me because I know what he's done for me. And kind of like when he got out, I just needed like a change of scenery. So I ended up going to Morton to be an assistant high school coach under Keith Zachary, one of the best coaches, in my opinion, in the state of Arkansas. So he gave me an opportunity to be a head junior high coach and assistant high school coach. And then it's funny, after I've done that, I get a call from this guy, Johnny, and just out the blue was like, hey, Johnny Rice, North Little Rock, and would you be interested in an assistant high school job? But back then when I was coaching, I was young. I'm on the outside looking in, watching these high-level teams, the North Little Rocks, the Halls, the Parkviews, the Jonesboroughs. And I'm like, man, that's just like a dream just to have an opportunity to be on that stage. And he gave me an opportunity. I interviewed, ended up getting the job. And I was nervous coming in, not nervous like I couldn't do the job, but nervous like I was grateful. And I was appreciative for the opportunity that he gave me. So I was with him for a year, and we won a state title, won a conference championship, and I left after that year to go back home to be a head coach. After 9 years being assistant, so had the opportunity to make an impact back home.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to come back this way and had the opportunity to go to Central Arkansas.
So you went back home Pine Bluff?
No, I went back to Little Rock in the Central area.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So did Conway for 2 years.
Yeah.
And gradually started working back this way, and now I'm at Jacksonville today. So,
All right, so you've been in Pine Bluff, Morrilton, North Little Rock,
Watson Chapel.
Watson Chapel. In how many years?
4 years.
No. How many total years you been coaching?
13.
13 years coaching. You've been to 6 schools.
Yes, sir.
My word, man.
It's almost as impressive as 52 weeks straight or 50.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to. I mean, that's a lot of back and forth traveling around. I mean, it's not like it's just 1 or 2 years, but it's broken up over time. It's great.
Yeah, like I said, it was just bigger opportunities, so I just hard to pass up.
Yeah. You got anything? So here's what I want to know, Johnny. Why would you recruit a junior high basketball coach to come be a varsity assistant?
Well, when you as a head coach, when you're trying to replace your main assistant, I mean, you use your networking, and man, I talked to multiple people that I really respect in the basketball community, and Marcus's name kept coming up. I never met him.
Yeah.
I never did anything, but that sold me just because of the respect I had for the people I was reaching out to. And then after bringing him in on an interview, it was very, very visible that he was the guy. And then he just jumped right in. And, you know, I as a head coach for 10 years, I only had two main that were my main high school assistants, and I only had Marcus for a year, and man, we were, like I said, we're able to win a state championship, and he was a vital part of that, and he really changed the job requirements and the job responsibilities that I had as an assistant for my assistant, and he did that on his own. Because I tell one quick story is that, you know, when we had in our non-conference season, we would, you know, we'd have our games, but we wouldn't scout those opponents to the extreme we would our conference.
Sure.
And we were blessed to go play in out-of-state things, and it was hard to get film or something on an opponent we were playing. We would try best we could, but so I'd have written on our dry erase board our conference teams and their non-conference schedule and the games they played, so we could start reaching out and getting film. So it was in December, and we go, hey, I said, Coach, our first conference game is Little Rock Central. They've played these, and these. We need to start, you know, getting our game plan and scouting for that. And when I asked him that, like I said, it was in the middle of December, he got up from his desk and walked over and handed me an already scouted it. He had already done that.
Wow.
And a month before that we were going to play them, and it was before we even did anything. And that was the first evidence I seen of what he could do. And then, you know, anything and everything that I'd ask, he would do, and he'd go beyond. And if it was from player development to, you know, your role as an assistant coach is different than your role as a head coach. And I know Marcus could say that, could testify to that also. And because you can have a different relationship with the kids. And, you know, if you say good guy, bad guy, good cop, bad cop, I don't really say that, but you can, as an assistant, have a different relationship and get different conversations with student athletes that the head coach can't. And Marcus was always great at that, trying to keep their locker room morale and the culture a certain way. And the culture that I had built in my years there, he came right in and even made it better. So he really did. He changed my whole job description and job responsibilities of an assistant, and he did that all on his own. So that was unreal impressive to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. You having fun hearing people talk about you across the table?
Like I told him, I was greatly appreciated for the opportunity, because North Little Rock is one of the premier jobs in the state. And when I got the phone call saying you're being offered a job, it was a blessing to have this opportunity. But at the same time, I was each and every day I just treated it. I was grateful and just showed my gratitude.
Yeah. So I want to go something you said earlier pricked my interest. You mentioned growing up in Pine Bluff and your parents having a restaurant. How much did your parents having a restaurant impact you and your development and your preparation and all the things that you do as a coach? Well,
my childhood, we was all raised off of responsibility and discipline. And like, when you wake up on a Saturday morning, probably today's era, they playing video game. We wake up, my dad said, hey, go put some clothes on, let's go cut grass. And once you get done cutting grass, now mom got chores for you in the room on the iron board. Hey, do the dishes, laundry, this. And so that right there just showed me just a lot about the preparation and the discipline, the structure. And then also too, we was built on playing a lot of sports because Pine Bluff was, we had 4 high schools back then, like Pine Bluff, Chapel, Dalloway, Whitehall, and they were all full of students, so, and I can tell this story, 7th grade of Southeast Middle School, they tore it down. You're required to not just play one sport. So when you get in athletics, you have to do football, basketball, and track. But track, you only just run one meet. So after we done that, we go to Jack Roby, which was the 8th and 9th grade back then.
Oh, you said required.
Yeah, we were required, 7th grade. We had to participate.
It's a different time, man. You can't require that now, but I wish we would. I think it'd be phenomenal.
We had to play football.
I agree.
Yeah, we had to do it. Like we couldn't. If you want to play basketball, you have to play football, and you have to run track.
Yeah.
But the only thing about track, you just have to practice and just do one meet. Okay. So once we got to Jack Roby, 8th and 9th grade, and back then our student population was like 2,000. We had to split our team up in North and South. That's how many kids we had back then. So I'm thinking it's the same requirement. So I'm out there on the football field on summertime, fall. Then when I found out it wasn't, I tried to get my schedule changed. I went and told my dad, and my dad said, no, you're not quitting. You started it, right? Yes, sir. Well, you're going to finish it. Then after that, then you can. Yeah. So that's just me, and being raised by him just taught me not to quit. And being in opportunities where every program I've been as a head coach, I had to build, my mindset was always pushing forward. Not looking behind. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is there still a barbecue restaurant in Pine Bluff?
Well, we sold it.
Okay.
We sold it. So now my dad and uncle has their own construction company, Anderson Construction, so they build houses now, so all over the state. So,
okay. Awesome. That's great.
I had to do that too.
What was the name of the restaurant?
The Barbecue Hut.
Barbecue Hut?
Yep, Barbecue Hut. Yep. So
you still cooking on the side?
I do it when I have to, not because I want to.
So it's a secret you keep in on the inside. You don't tell anybody.
Just when I have to.
Well, secret's out now, everybody.
But you got to think about it though. When you got so much going on, you go home like I
understand that.
Yeah, sure. But if don't nobody say nothing, I'm not doing.
Well, hopefully this secret's safe. But if not, and if we're to blame, then I'm sorry.
I might get in trouble.
That's too good. It's too good. So tell us, you talked to us about your uprising and coaching and all that. Tell us a little bit about your faith, your relationship with Jesus, and how it shaped who you are and why you coach the way that you do.
Man, I was raised in a church at a very young age where I was an usher. And a lot of people don't know that I used to play drums. I was in the choir.
I wish I'd known that.
And that's why I didn't tell them. And it was like nobody taught me. Like I used to watch our drummer, and I visualized, and I told pastor, and I want to play drums. So I did that for.
So you don't use that for any of your boys right now?
I've told my kids in Jacksonville. I've told them that I play drums.
Okay.
I didn't tell him.
Oh, okay.
I didn't tell him because I know how he was going to use that against me. So
or leverage it,
right?
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
Right. So like I said, I've done that, and my dad is a deacon, and we used to pick up the elderly every Sunday morning. So I used to get up early and go with him to help open the door for elderly women to get them up, and you know what I mean, just stuff like that. Usher and anything in the church that they required me to do, I did. But it taught me like servant leadership. Just being in the house of the Lord, and then and now just being around FCA, it really taught me to, and everybody goes through this, like God makes you go through things so you can get through things. And I've learned a lot in the past that, man, you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have hurdles, but you got to keep praying. You can't stop going, because, and one thing a pastor said to me a couple of weeks ago, he said, you can't make prayer as a last resort. It has to be your first response.
Mm-hmm.
And that hit me. Like, that really hit me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because
that's good stuff right there.
Yeah, because a lot of people, and I think a lot of people will pray when something goes bad. You know what I mean? Not when it's going good, so.
Yeah, it's really hard to have a conversation with somebody that you don't personally know.
Right.
And to share and pray and cry out and to sit and to hear response and know what to do and to discern God's voice. Yeah, that's very wise. That's awesome. I've told people a long time ago, worked at a church one time, and one of our core values was our most important conversations every day are with God. Most important.
Like I said, he's actually done a lot for me. Like, I can't complain. Even when you think he's not doing something, he actually is. Yeah. So my thing is, like, you can still be wise without being bitter. So it kind of like, boom. Because, you got aspirations, you got dreams, and it may not happen right now, but he's putting you in position to get yourself ready for that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Man, Marcus is spitting out some gems today.
And he's doing great.
You can be wise without being bitter.
Well,
or
the opposite, you can be bitter without being wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I tell young people, I'm 40, but I've been in it for a while.
You're a young guy over there.
I don't feel like it though. I've been fortunate since I started coaching. I've been mentored with nothing but older veteran coaches.
Yeah.
Ron Mulroney, Johnny Rice, Keith Zachary, Darryl Fimple, Wes Swift. Like, all of them guys been doing it 15, 20 years, and I've had the opportunity to be around those group of guys. Like, I can keep going. I can go Melvin Robson. I can go Carl Smith, Conley. It's all older. And people say I act old, because I've been around, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's,
absolutely not.
So, and that's why I show my gratitude, because some people don't get to be around that group of knowledge.
Yeah.
So.
I appreciate that. I love hearing coaches without even thinking. It's just in your front of your mind of every coach. And I think whenever you say their name, you see their face, and you know exactly who it is, and give honor and gratitude, and just to be able to rattle those off. A lot of people will sit there and like, oh, who's my coach then? And who's my coach then? And who does I work for? Like, they didn't have an impact in your life.
Oh, yeah. One thing about me, I don't forget where I came from. So
that's awesome. Yep. That's good. That's good. One thing I would say about you too, Johnny had a chance to speak life into you when we first started Jacksonville High School FCA. And right after you took the job in Jacksonville, it's like I referred to you as our staff as Mr. Consistent, because you were always there. Whether you had a role or not, you were always there supporting the FCA huddle to get it up and started with Coach Hickenbotham. And you were there, and you made sure your boys were there, or a representative of your team was there, and just able to come in. And I've asked Zach the same thing. I'm like, all right, how's Coach Adams? He's like, he's always there. He's always there. He's Mr. Consistent, and praying in the back and making sure everything's going great, and how we can help out and bless and encourage and work together. So appreciate you. Thanks for the investment that you're making and opening the doors for FCA huddle to happen in Jacksonville High School.
We appreciate y'all, because there's nothing wrong with some words of encouragement. On weeks, on days where stuff just not going well, some at home or in the classroom, and 10, 15, 20 minutes of encouragement, it can change your day.
Yeah,
it can change it. So
that's great. It's so good. So you mentioned a word earlier. It's a hot topic word. A lot of people talk about it. You got two brilliant minds in here in the room. How do we want to go about doing this? You mentioned the word culture. How do you determine what the culture of a team is and will be before people even show up?
It all starts with the first day and you talking about being uncommon, So if you roll into practice or team meeting the first day, how you set the tone will pretty much finish the story toward the end of the year, and that goes by to what we stand for. And when we do that, can we sustain that on even days where we're not our best?
Yeah.
And it's all about, and you have to appreciate our young men just being able to sustain it, because we all have bad days.
Sure.
Kids have bad days too.
100%.
But
worse than us.
But everybody preaches perfection all the time. But I look at it like this. I think the greatest gift a mentor can give a kid is example. Not just trying to go out perfection, but just off your pursuit. And then by you doing that, I think everything else will fall in place with your culture.
Yeah.
With your hard work, with your work ethic, with being selfless, with encouraging, just being disciplined at what you do. Not just, and the kids struggle with, it ain't what you do, is how you do it. You know what I mean? Like I can sit there and tell a kid to go run through here and make this layup. He might have talent, but if it ain't the how to do it, if you don't say anything, how's he going to get better? How's your team going to get better? How are you going to get better as a coach?
Yeah.
What example are you setting, then what example is he setting for the rest of the group? So,
yeah, culture is what you do when nobody's watching. That's the way I looked at it like that. And coming in and being somewhere like at North Little Rock, and I was there, I was there for 20 years before, from the middle school up to the high school assistant. And I knew things that I wanted to emphasize, and the culture of, North Rock was known as always being talented, but we hadn't won one since it's like 40 years, over 40 years. And just kind of that winning attitude and the things you had to do. But kids want to be held accountable. They won't say that, but they really, really do. And when you're consistent with holding them accountable, and with consistent work, and with consequences for whenever they don't do something right, and so that culture, that doing something when no one's looking, kids are out. If you're there with them, standing over them, they're going to act a certain way, but how they act in the locker room or when they're doing stuff by themselves. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's where the culture really, really, and that culture was it was a big buzzword my whole time. That was the big thing. And and Marcus was a vital part of that. And in 2018 with North Little Rock.
Peter Drucker made the quote famous. He just said it one day, and it caught hold, and everybody's been like, "Ooh, that's so great, so great!" And it's been the thing that's held on. And he says that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Yeah, it's great to have a great strategy, but if you don't have a culture undergirding it as a foundation, then it's going to be the nuts and the bolts and the environment and the values and the behaviors and everything that to execute your strategy. Then your strategy is going to fall apart. Yep.
Because I remember, I can tell you the story. Remember, that's the year we had Moses Moody, we had Colin Moore. I could keep naming. Like I've never been in a situation like that. I've had good teams, but just walking into that, I'm like, oh wow. So now I'm in the inside looking, and I remember Moses Moody first day we played pickup just to see what we got and evaluating, and he came to me and said, "Coach, how you think I did?" I said, "You really want to know?" He said, "Yeah." I told him, I said, "Your motor don't run. You don't play defense. You don't look to rebound the ball. Your ball handle not tight enough. You don't communicate enough. Anything else you want to know?" And he just stared at me. I said, "One thing about me, I'm honest. Like, we want to get you better, but I'm honest. And so when you say you got aspiration dreams, I said, so did you want me to tell you was the best thing since sliced bread? He said, no, sir. And after that, he was locked in all year long.
And worked on those things, just things he said. We had Moses as a sophomore, so he's still growing, developing, and he wasn't an elite athlete. He had skills, and I ain't saying he was a bad athlete, but he wasn't an elite athlete, and so he had issues of staying in front. He get in foul trouble because he couldn't stay in front of the ball. Yeah. And so we talked to him about that. And Mark and Coach Adams talked to him about it all the time. And we would practice, be done, and I always left. I'd always try to plan 30 minutes after practice so kids could work on whatever they want. If they were out there shooting the ball from half court, I'd hit the whistle, turn the lights off. But most of the time, they would. When you get your culture, they're going to work on what they need to be working on. Yep. And I'll look out there and I see Coach Adams with Moses with bands on around his ankles, and they're doing slides and anything from foot speed and a lateral movement. And I remember Coach Musselman told me the same thing, that I was saying, because Moses was different and he wanted to, whatever his deficiency was, he wanted to work on that. And so when he goes up to the university, Coach Muss said he was having trouble finishing in traffic and in the paint, especially with big SEC athletes. Yep. And but on his own, he looked up and he's out there with the graduate assistant guys and working on finishing through contact and doing all that. And that made an impression on Coach Muss the same way as it did with us. And but that set Moses apart from a lot of other players that were just as athletic or maybe more athletic than Moses was. Moses was an elite shooter, probably one of, if not the best shooter we had. Never had him in the year we had him, and I don't ever remember a day that the ball just didn't go in for him. He just had a bad day. Never had that with Moses. But he wanted to be coached, and he wanted to know what he needed to work on, and then he worked on those things, and that separated him from a lot of people.
Coach Adams, you talked about your honesty, that don't ask if you don't want to know. How has that been received by athletes? You're talking about Jacksonville, North Little Rock, at any school that you've been at. Well, let's back. I want to unpack that all the way back up. Who was the honest person with you that told you so that you learned how to be honest with other people?
Oh, my dad. It goes back to him because he never lied to me. Like, he's my dad. My mom had me when she was 16. So my biological dad was in and out, was never around. So my mom ended up getting married when I was 3 or 4. So people say he was my stepdad back then, but you have to be a man to take care of somebody else's kid that's not even yours. And he raised me like I was his own. So as the years go on, I'm soaking everything in like a sponge. Yeah. Because he's teaching me how to be a man. So he never lied to me. Like when I remember I used to play Little League basketball. He used to take me to games, and I can have a really good game. I might have had 3 3-pointers or something. But he knew I had the ability to go to the rim and be tough. I was like, Dad, you like the way I did it? He was like, your cousin right here, your teammate, he don't mind going to the hole, get hit, and this, and that bothered me. So the next weekend, okay. So now I'm getting to the basket, getting hit in the leg. I'm looking at it. Now is that good enough? But he was held me to a standard and teaching me not to be complacent, not be satisfied. So that's where it started for me with my dad.
So all your guys on your team are just open and willing to accept all the truth bombs that you're placing in their life without any hesitancy or push off?
Nobody's never to accept it right off the bat, because when you come into a situation, there's change. Whether it's good change, bad change, mediocre, it doesn't matter. When you come into a situation, there's going to be change. Yeah. So now you have to be patient and have faith that sooner or later that tide is going to turn, and that culture is going to be where they're going to accept being coachable, the criticism, but not just from you as a coach, but from your teammates, because y'all the ones out there going to battle. So we teach that deal. Like, if you're gonna encourage your teammate or hold your teammate accountable, you are better to receive it too and accept that. So
that's great. You have a story of an athlete of yours who spoke, who received it from you, but also has been like a floor general or a floor coach or somebody who's like. I think a lot of times, like my daughter, love her to death, she'll see stuff with her teammates, but not tell them. What would you say about that idea, that if you see something, say something, or if you see something to help them improve, or get anything, any words of wisdom on that?
Well, my thing is with that, and I can give you a story because we talked about, having that coach with that point guard on the floor. I was at Washington Chapel. I'm on year 3 after he didn't beat my brains in. So now we got the year 3. The tides are turning. So now I have a sophomore point guard. And so now we're trying to gear his mind up to be that leader, to be that other coach on the floor. And it was tough for him early, where he had situations where he'll cry during practice. It's that because the adversity is tough. Yeah. But as he kept going through that wave, that storm actually passed. So as the season went on, he kind of understood. So now he's more battle tested and more mentally tough, not just for him, but for the other 4 that's on the floor, even his teammates, where he can be that other coach on the floor. So now he's doing that. Now you go into 11th grade year. Now your workouts, your practices, anything you do is smooth sailing, because now he's on the same page with you. He shares the same vision you share. So now you got a snake on the floor that heads can't even get cut off, and everything just goes smooth. Even with adversity, I mean, one time I was upset about something again about my younger days. He told me to sit down. He said, "Coach, sit down, chill out." Okay, and I listened. And they did what they had to do, and they know normally I don't complain about nothing, but I had to ask. He said, "Coach, sit down." Like, it was one time, one of our better players, I wish he was on here, I'd tell his name. He wasn't playing defense, and
you can tell his name. I'm gonna send him this link.
Yeah, send him this link. Kamani Cooper, he gonna laugh about it too. He wasn't playing defense, he wasn't rebounding. It was a big game, and my point guard Keyshawn looked at me and said, "Coach, get him out." Like, he beat me to it. He said, "Coach, get him out." Get him out. And we just went on a run because you had 5 guys on the same page. Yeah. But when he got back in, he got with the program. Yeah. Because that point guard, he held him accountable. He said, "Coach, get him out." Okay. I get him out.
That's awesome. I love hearing when players take ownership.
Yeah.
So what does it take to build a culture like that, where you trust a player enough to give them ownership?
It takes trust.
Because I think coaching is one of the oddest professions in the world, to where we trust our success off of 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, whether we stay there and enough to for our salary and everything else. Like, you don't see that anywhere else in the world.
I think that's earned, and it's earned through practice and then how they've handled themselves in games, and it just don't happen overnight. And if you're not displaying the characteristics of what a leadership does, I mean, I've had kids that it was their senior year, so they thought, well, now they're it, and they're barking orders to everybody on the floor, and ain't nobody paying them no attention. And the reason why nobody's paying them any attention is because they hadn't done anything previously as a sophomore or junior or in practice to get that respect. If it's how hard they're working, how much time they're putting in, the sacrifices they're doing, to watching them accept stuff from other players, the guys that were seniors before them. And so it takes a little bit. So it's all earned, I think, with their teammates, but just as much as it's earned with from the coach, us coaches allowing them to be that leader.
Yeah.
I used to get asked all the time, well, who's your team captain's going to be? Like, I never would. And I mean, I had parents that would never get mad, upset that I didn't make their son team captain. I says, I've never done it. The team, that just develops on its own. You can see who that is after a little while. I don't have to name and put it up to a team vote on who the team captain is. After a while,
like they wanted them to go to meet with the officials and everything before the game. Yeah, team captains,
exactly.
Like it's a title and a role.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I know my last. I don't know if I ever did it. I might have done it early, my first year or two as a head coach, but after that, I would be curious to see the first game when they would have the meeting with the players who would go. Because I never said, you go, or you go.
So it was a quiz for everybody in the huddle.
Yeah.
Basically, to see who's going to step up and take leadership and go.
And it would always be who. And most of the time, it was who I thought would go do it.
Yeah.
And then most of the time, it was who I wanted to go take that spot.
Sure.
So it's all that is earned, and it's earned with their teammates, and it's earned with the coaches.
But I think you do that, you empower it, though. Like, because I did that this year. Like, I don't select captains anyway. Like, you'll see that as the practices and games go on. But every time the refs, especially this year, call for captains, they'll just walk out there. But I just think sometimes you do stuff like the team just empowering themselves. Like, okay, nobody's disagreeing with them two. Sometimes it might be another two. You know what I mean? So that means the ones that normally go up there, they're being selfish enough to say, okay, you go.
Most teams that I didn't say I had to, but if I can see the teams where the coach has to assign somebody to that, they're not near as successful because your most successful teams are team led, and that's one deal with a team that when someone and everybody else knew who was. My last couple of years knew who was going to go up to that deal, and they knew it before. So it was just when it happened, it happens because it was you were team led. It wouldn't happen. It might take a little while during the season for it to really, really all come together. But I always loved that to see who goes up there.
Yeah, one of them was 7'5".
That dude, he didn't ever go up there. No. But it wouldn't I wouldn't have said don't go up there if he'd walked up there.
Man, in the 8th grade, he was 6'8" when I was there.
Yeah.
He was 6'8". It's crazy.
6'8" in 8th grade?
Yes. Like 6'7", 6'8" in 8th grade.
Yeah, I was 6'2" in 8th grade. I walked into 9th grade at 6'8".
Man, I didn't know how he'd get in my car every morning because, he had to come. He worked out with us in the morning. Then I taught at the middle school, so he'll ride over with me to the middle school for class. Yeah. I'm like, how is he getting in this car? Like,
you do what you got to do, man. You just make it work.
Yeah. Like,
you didn't buy that car with him in mind.
I had to press seatbelt. Is this enough? This enough room?
Short distances, you make it work. Yeah, that's too fun. So let's got about 13 minutes, 39. Yeah, 13 minutes left. Let's talk about it's just crazy to me. A lot of times as a fan, you sit up in the stands, what you're saying about picking out captains and everything, you think, oh, it's just something that the coach does. But I guess it's more common practice that with you two, but that they just, it's a role that they accept and that they take on their own and go that way. It speaks a lot about the culture, speaks a lot about the foundation and ownership, as you talked about, team ownership. So how do you how do you teach that? How do you teach ownership of the team for player ownership?
Starts with the coach. So if you don't take ownership for what you do, what's make you think they gonna do it? So now it's gonna become a who's right battle.
So is it words? Is it actions? Is it like what's
actions? Like I've had situations where I know I screwed up. I apologize, and I might do it down and back for him or something. Or I might do a couple push-ups or something. Just to.
You did run that quarter.
Check this out. He brought this up. So we was in the semis. No, when we made it to Hot Springs, I told the team, I said, if we win this, because we had to play Northside for the third time. That's when they had Isaiah Joe, Jalen Williams. I'm like, yeah, we got to play them again. If we win state, I will run at 400 on the track. We won state. So when we got back from the bus.
So all you had to do is just run it.
Just run it.
Not in a certain time.
Nah.
They didn't think you could.
That's what we made them do.
They didn't think that you could make one lap.
No. I told them I run it. It's like, okay. They got so hyped up. So when we got back from the Hot Springs, I'm just sitting in the office, just hiding in the corner in my little spot like this. And I'm thinking they all gone. I think Coach Rice walked up. He said, man, they still here. I said, what do you mean they still here? They ain't going home? He said, no. So they was like, one of them came there, Coach Adams, let's go to this track. I said, oh, they were serious. When we went out there and they was mocking me because it was times where Moses would barely touch the line, but the time went out and I told them don't count. So they used to mess with me about that. So they hit that timer, boom, and I took off and they were screaming. Oh, man, they just had a good time. I was done after that.
I bet.
I was done. I told them I would never do that again.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So you've not offered that to any other team since?
No. That was 9 years ago.
You learned that lesson.
That was 9 years ago. I'm in my 40s now.
Age is just a word.
I know it, but knees last forever. Knee pain, they last forever.
That's funny. That's too good. Too good.
But you answered your question. I think it takes actions are the most impactful, but you got to have the words too.
Yeah.
Now, I'll use that. I used to use that as an excuse when I was to witness to someone about Jesus. I would go. It's just an uncomfortable conversation. Mm-hmm. So I go, man, I'm just going to let them see my example, how I'll do things, how my walk through life is, and that could be my witness. And because someone's example was the most impactful to me, more than somebody telling me something. But I learned really quick, you got to have both. I mean, in the Bible, and Jesus tells us to tell, to verbally express it too. So I think building a player or coaching a player is the same way. Is you got to show them by how you do things, but you got to tell them too. You got to do both.
Yeah.
And I use that as an excuse for a long time because I just didn't like to talk with anybody and do all that. So I'd use that as an excuse and trying to validate that I was doing good and that was wrong.
Yeah. Communication is a big deal these days. You got to better communicate to your players. So I give me an example now, and I think I'm not saying everybody's not doing this, but I think hopefully we're not getting away from this. And I also think as players to get more trust is defining roles. I think that's a big deal. If they don't know, they just out there, they don't know because that communication hasn't been had.
Yeah.
Because, as coaches, every role is important. Everybody, I want to be the big star, this and that. But kids really don't realize every role you play is very vital. It's important. Whether you are a scorer, a rebounder, a shot blocker, or you the point guard, or you are the lockdown defender, or every role is important. Every role is important. And the year we won the state title, Otis Jordan was our point guard. We hit the games 32 minutes. He played 30 minutes, and he took one shot. And he one of the ones that could fill it up. He only took one shot. But what helped us get through that was his ability to run our team, defend, and keep us afloat. And that was very vital.
Yeah.
Very vital.
Yeah. I love hearing stories with athletes, especially like during March Madness. People, they always talk about the number one scorer and everything else. I want to know about the player that's behind the scenes that's not doing much. That's the glue that holds everybody together. The character men or the character women that
every team has one.
Absolutely. Or more than one.
Well, every successful team
has at least one.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So you talked about leading by example. So there's two ideas here I want to talk about and get both of y'all's opinions on. Controversial, maybe for some. I don't think it's a big deal. I had a pastor one time tell me not to ever do this, what I'm about to ask. And whenever I say it, it's going to sound very crazy to you. How do you model apologies? I had a pastor tell me one time, never apologize.
To never apologize?
Yeah. I said, you crazy. I said, I'm sorry. He said, never apologize. I'm like, well, I'm sorry that's your opinion.
Well, I can sit there and tell you this.
Is it okay for a coach to apologize to a player?
Yes. I think it is. Because if you're wrong, that's just my opinion. If you're wrong, how you go teach your players how to be a man if you don't know how to apologize? So that means you're not going to apologize to your wife. You're not going to apologize to your son. You're not going to apologize to your daughter. You're not going to apologize to your grandmother or your grandkids. So what example that goes back to, the best gift you give somebody is an example. Just your pursuit.
Yeah.
If my dad can apologize to me for something, how come I can't? So my dad is one of the toughest people I know. So if he can apologize and teach me how to say yes, sir, no, sir, and I'm saying it all the time, and why can I not do it?
Yeah.
Why can I not pass it on to the next generation?
I think apologies a lot of times have been equated with weakness and being soft.
The day of the coach's way or the highway is over. I'm not saying that I'm just saying now the every kid's different, and something that I thought I was good at is I got from my dad was a people person. He was in management, worked for Kroger for 40 something years, but he could read people and understand them and know how to motivate them and do all that. And then the deal is just one way you're going to do things, and you're going to coach every kid the same way. That's what I mean when I say the coach's way or the highway. Those days are not any successful coaches that way anymore. And because every coach, you coach every kid differently, and you still have your core values and your demands and your deals that your non-negotiables that we're doing this no matter what. But how you get the young man to do that, every kid's different. There's some that you've got to bark at them in front of everybody to get their attention. Yeah. Some of them, if you do that, they're going to shut down. You got to go take them one-on-one and bark at them still. Right. Some of them you can't bark at all. You got to pat on the back to get the most out of them. Some you can't pat on the back. You've got to, and so every kid's different. So you got to learn to adjust and to get the best out of every kid. But the day of it's my way or the highway, and you're going to do it this way, and if you don't do it this way, you ain't going to. Those days are gone, I think.
Oh yeah, everybody learns different. Everybody works different. Everybody understands different. It's how it is. You can still be held accountable, but in different ways. Like I can give somebody a stare, and they already know what I just looking at. They just okay.
Yeah, they interpret the tone of voice through your eyes. Yeah.
My kids, I disciplined and parented my kids different because they were in. I know yours probably.
Absolutely.
You got a house of 15 girls in there.
Pretty much.
That
feels like it some days.
But you don't parent one like the other. They're just all different. And coaching is the same, and teaching in the classroom is the same exact way. And the same way with ministering in a church. I think it's everybody's motivated and does things different, and you gotta. The most successful ones figure out how to pull that heartstring and get someone's attention. And everyone's different.
Yeah.
These things are one way, and that's it. And I think that's the way it used to be, but it's not that way anymore.
Yeah, that's why we spent the whole month of April as our FCA staff trying to learn personally, doing some tests and inventories and figuring out what. I put Johnny through the ringer over here.
Me doing all kinds of surveys and filling out all this stuff. He makes me read.
What your core values are? What do you personally believe? What's your spiritual giftedness? What your strengths are? All those things, and just as a way of motivating. And one, it helps me as a leader, as y'all are talking about as coaches, to know how your team is wired and what it makes and what makes them tick. And you present them with the little packages of paper with a hardcover on the outside and tell them to read it, whether they do or they don't. And then it just helps you to learn as you go. So there's a lot that's applied in the real world and everywhere else that's applied and started in the basketball court. And I just appreciate you two guys, 2 men of faith, 2 men of courage, leading in the way that you do, impacting lives of men, and which impacts their culture and impacts their school and their city and everywhere that they go from here on out. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's been a lot of fun, a lot of great wisdom here that you have learned, that you've imparted for other people to hear. We're super grateful for that.
Appreciate you, Johnny.
Yeah, thank you for being on and being a part of my life for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate great friends, and y'all are to each other. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today for Beyond the Huddle, the Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. Y'all have a great week of worship, and we'll catch you next week.